This episode of After Dark is brought to you guys with the support of Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create professional websites, blogs, portfolios, and online stores. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, head on over to squarespace.com and use your offer code Gamebreaker5.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to After Dark, the live show where you guys call in and ask your questions and make it happen right in front of your faces. We got a great show for you tonight. The internet is on fire about this little thing that Microsoft wants to call the Xbox One. We've got a lot of good questions about that and many more coming up on tonight's show. But first, joining me like he does every week for the next 2 weeks, the one, the only, the curly, Mr. Josh Allen. How's it going, sir? What's
hey,
curly?
buddy.
Is curly an
How you doing?
adjective? Is curly an adjective?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yes. It's
All right.
a word that's used to describe a noun. So
Don't give me. I'm not asking for an English lesson here. I'm just trying to riff off the top of my head. I'm not Josh Allen. I should probably take that off. And we've dug him up from the dregs of Gamebreaker. Not dregs. The deepest, darkest corner.
Wow.
Of Gamebreaker.
We reached as far down into the barrel as we could.
That was not at all what I meant. We reached into the back corners. Obviously, with so much to talk about Xbox, we felt it was only appropriate to reach out to one of my old co-stars, one of my fellow hosts and producers of the Gamebreaker Show Dashboard, returning here to talk some Xbox One, Mr. Austin Regenball. How's it going?
Hey, it's been a
How's it
long
going?
time.
It's been at least a year.
It's going. It's been over a year. It seems
Man.
like, right?
Austin, are you ready to jump in and start getting some points? Some more Xbox
I
points to
am.
carrying over.
That's the best part about the whole thing this morning, I think. Achievement points will transfer over.
What would you have done if they wouldn't transfer over? Would your life have just gone
Not
to
even
waste?
You know, my life's already kind of gone to waste with the amount of achievement points I have. But if I had to start over, I wouldn't do it.
All those games, you know, that Avatar: The Last Airbender, that was a free 2,000 gamer score that you went and rented for a day. That would all just be a waste of
Hannah
of
Montana. Hannah Montana, the movie.
You got to do what you got to do for
That was my
those
moment
points.
of shame, I think.
Oh, man. All right, so guys, obviously, as you guys can tell, there's a lot to talk about here with the Xbox reveal. We've got some questions for it from callers. We've got some Twitter questions, as well as obviously some of the good old staple After Dark questions. But I just kind of want to start off the discussion with the three of us. You know, what were your guys' impressions with the reveal today? There are so many mixed reactions, from the blazing hatred to the mediocre, and then some people who are maybe a little bit still hopeful of what's to come. And is kind of okay with the way that Microsoft kind of announced this. Where do you guys stand in the mix of things?
I want to hear what Austin has to say first, because he was on the Xbox show. So go for it.
Okay, that's a lot of pressure. Comparing Microsoft's press conference with Sony's from a month ago or however long it was, Sony was more focused on the games they're going to have coming. And Microsoft, really, their whole selling point is, look at this great hardware we're coming out with, and look at all these features this hardware is going to use. And as far as games go, they had a couple to show off, and it seemed the games they chose were very kind of dude bro, you know, EA Sports and Call of Duty. What's going to make the news, the national news tomorrow morning, is going to be, oh, Microsoft announced this thing, all of the popular games are going to be on it. But in doing that, they pissed off most of the core gamers who
I didn't even realize
are going to be your...
The dude bro crowd is exactly what they targeted this morning.
Absolutely. And that's why you see so much outrage on the internet, is because everyone else who's not, you know, into Madden, not into Call of Duty, is feeling a little abandoned, a little hurt by this. Which I don't know if they necessarily should have had such high hopes to begin with the way the Xbox has been going over recent years. It's more of a media machine, and it seems like the XboxOne, which is a terrible name for a device, is gonna just continue in that trend.
Well, do you guys think the Xbox One name came, and I was trying to think about that, because clearly it's not the first Xbox, but do you think that maybe it was kind of their thought process was this is going to be the one thing you need, this is going to be the central hub for all of your media in the living room, it's the one source, and that's maybe where the Xbox One came from?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting the impression of. It's still a very dumb name for the third generation of a console. But I guess they like jumped straight to 360 on the second one anyway, so their numbering convention is already all over the place. But yeah, no, it's there's a whole lot of the little like random things that like okay, there were 3 words that I forget the guy's or exactly who it was that was up there presenting this, but the guy who was up there showing off the switching between different things by using voice commands and stuff. It was right at the front of the presentation. I don't remember who it was.
Right.
He kept saying Xbox Go Home, and I was like,
Xbox Go Home, you're drunk.
Yeah, I was like, that's an unfortunate thing to continue saying on your presentation. That's kind of how I felt at the end of it too. I was like, all right, Xbox, go home. Let me know when you want to play video games again. There was a whole lot of talk about TV. Like one of their big announcements was a Halo TV series that I will watch on my iPad in bed, not on my Xbox. I think that I'm gonna hold on the whole TV aspect because I think I'm hoping that we get some callers that talk about that, because that's a big focus that Xbox kind of had, was they were only showing off the TV side of things. One thing though was that I thought was kind of funny is as we were watching this press conference, we were ironically watching it in a living room space at work, and through the conference, I don't know if it was maybe us chatting, but I'm 90% sure it was from the conference was picking up on our current Kinect and activating it. So we were constantly having to say Xbox cancel so that it would stop, so that the menu would go away and we could watch the press conference. That's a little short-sighted, don't you guys think?
Absolutely. It's irritating. I unplugged my Kinect a long time ago. I don't play games on it, and all it was doing was pausing my Netflix movies when I didn't want it to. So yeah, that thing got ripped out.
Imagine the living room fights that are going to happen over what you're watching on TV with this thing. Someone's going to be like, Xbox, watch Game of Thrones, and someone else will be like, no, Xbox, watch the game, and someone else will be like, no, I'm playing Forza, Xbox, go to Forza, and there's going to be just yelling like crazy until someone inevitably rips the Kinect out of the wall and throws it across the room. I'm very skeptical of this whole thing.
Ragebox. All right. Real quick before we jump into some of the caller questions and see what you guys are having to say and what you guys feel. Wow, I literally just lost my train of thought and where I was going to go with that. Let's open up the lines and take viewer questions to keep this show moving while I think about that lub right there. Call your online when Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us what you thought of the Xbox conference today.
Hey, it's Bricksterness.
Oh, I specifically saw you say you would call and debate me, so I'm really interested to see where this conversation goes.
Well, Microsoft already came out and said, it's not going to be about the games at this press conference. They're just going to show off the console and what it can do. But as a gamer, I felt underwhelmed at what the console would do for me as a gamer. It was all TV, woo, but for a game, all they really showed me was, you can pause Forza and go watch Star Trek.
Yeah, that's
mid-race, just suddenly, I don't really feel like finishing this race right now. I'm just going to watch some Star Trek instead. Oh, wait, I've gone through that scene. Time to go back to Forza.
No, I mean, I think that's interesting is look at, here's the thing that I feel that the way that the conference was structured is they took two, maybe 3 aspects that people were really ripping on about PlayStation. Was one, not showing the console. And if you rewatch the conference, that's the very first thing that they do. They say, here's our Xbox. Mm-hmm. So they clearly jumped on that bandwagon. The second one was the length. A lot of people complained that 2 or 3 hours that they took to show the PlayStation and what it could do and everything that was going into it was too long. So Xbox maybe was like, all right, an hour tops, and we're gonna have to hit, you know, our specs and the biggest game series that we got, which is clearly EA and Call of Duty. But I agree with you guys. I mean, what do you guys think of what, in terms of what they showed off? What does that leave the gamer? I think that a lot of people are really upset about the video games. They're pretty much running their mouths and going, oh no, wait, I want that.
What are you doing right now? How do you accidentally the fresh
Where the
Prince?
video games? I can't breathe.
Freaking out over the fact that the video games aren't there. But that's not. Here's the thing, that this is the first year that we've experienced these launch or these console announcements not at E3. People need to I think to an extent consider the fact that what games we're going to see is still very much yet to come. We that needs to be considered. But Rick, I think you bring up a really good point. Is you felt underwhelmed by what they were showing of where you think that maybe what it can offer you as a gamer, right? That's kind of what your concern is?
Yeah, they didn't really show me what to be excited for as a gamer. The PS4 had, you know, streaming capabilities, and if I wanted to, some guy can just jump into my game and play for me, and, you know, it showed really cool things.
I think it's funny that prior to Xbox announcements, I think a lot of people were face palming and rolling their eyes at the idea of like someone jumping in and playing the video game for them. But now everybody's like, well, PlayStation's offering these really cool gaming features, and Xbox isn't doing crap.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember who it was. There was someone I was talking to on Twitter, like in the middle of the whole thing, because I was just sitting there in bed watching the presentation on my iPad and like tweeting about random stupid crap that they said on my phone. I didn't want to get out of bed to watch it. It's early. It was 1 p.m. my time. I was sleeping.
It was early. It was the afternoon. What do they want me to do? Shower?
Exactly. I don't want to wake up for this. No, but I don't remember who it was, but someone was bringing up. I completely lost my train of thought now. I got distracted by myself being in my bed watching that. I don't remember
Austin,
where I was going with this.
Austin, what do you think about what this is offering for the gamer?
I think hardware-wise, it's going to stack up pretty close to where the PS4 is. They said it's going to have the 8 gigs of RAM, which I believe is what the PS4 is supposed to have. Also, it's going to have the 500 gig internal hard drive. Where this is going to differ, and, you know, maybe not. They came out and said, Microsoft said, this isn't going to play Xbox 360 games. And I remember the rumor has been that the PS4 also will not play PS3 games, just the hardware is completely different. The infrastructure won't do it. So backwards compatibility is kind of out in that way. But Microsoft was more forward with that, and they're taking some heat for that, of course. And it seems like, yeah, like what our caller is saying, gamer-wise, they didn't give us a whole lot of good reasons why we need to dive into this new console later this year. And really, what you need to do to get gamers excited is show a lot of games, like what Sony did. And we're going to have to wait a few more weeks for E3 to see if any of this is going to be worth our money here come November, October, whenever it actually releases.
Now, guys, talk about it. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just saying, it just reminded me of what I was going to say, is that, yeah, like, the PlayStation 4 didn't exactly come out with tons of, like, super amazing features at the time. Or at least at the time, it was kind of like, hey, I guess that's kind of cool or whatever. But the, like, 2 or 3 features that it came out with was better than the Xbox's none. So, yeah. I mean, I guess they do have the motion capture thing. They talked about that for, like, 5 seconds, about how they can capture your motions a lot more realistically, which could end up being really cool. But it still feels really gimmicky to me. I'm like, where's the games that I'm going to sit there playing with the controller in my hand and just what's going to go on with that whole thing? Is there anything
they
new
seem
for me
to
there, or am I just buying the iPhone 5?
They seem to really tout the hey, They seem to really tout the Kinect, and one of the things that they brought up were like people are really going to be interested in the Kinect. We're really happy with the way that people played, Mass Effect with the Kinect, and it's like I don't know many people that really utilize the Kinect to play. Like that's not what made people really enjoy Mass Effect. Was oh my gosh, did you see the Kinect integration? Like that really didn't play a factor in it at all. Now the interesting thing is Kotaku
Part of
has
the
a really
reason.
Go ahead.
I was going to say part of the reason for that is the current generation of Kinect, or whatever you want to call it, the current Kinect for Xbox 360, the technology doesn't quite work right. It won't track you always. You have to be standing a certain distance from the TV. If you have a certain skin tone, it doesn't really track you at all, as Flitz reminded us a couple years ago. So if this new technology comes out and it works like they're promising, that could be cool. It's just we've kind of been burned by Kinect before. So yeah, gamers just aren't sold on it quite yet.
Does this new technology that's going to sell gamers at all involve the idea that the camera is always going to be watching your room at all times, picking up the most minor of details? Because that's honestly a legitimate concern, and I just realized I think this is actually a Twitter question. Yeah, right here. Seren tweeted in, now that it's confirmed that Kinect will always be listening, are you creeped out more by it? And that's a big concern. The Kinect is always going to be on. We already break stories about Twitch streamers who end up with sex tapes online. People who are forgetting to turn their web cameras off, all this stuff. I mean, people walking up when they're disabled, like that's actually a huge invasion of privacy. And sure, they can type up as much documentation and say that they've got huge privacy factors in place, but I don't know. I think that's really kind of going far.
Well, is it listening to everything that you say all the time and like recording it and sending it somewhere, or is it just listening for like voice commands? Because my phone does the same exact thing. If I say the right words at the right time, then it starts doing stuff.
But and you made fun of my iPhone 5, but here, watch this. Hey Siri, what's going on? Oh, nothing? Oh, I've got to press a button? Now you're listening to me? Great. That's not the way that the Kinect works.
Why would I want to push a button first? Actually, I have to push a button first too, but
shut up,
that's
Siri.
I turned the other thing off.
But that's my concern here is the fact that if it's always on, there's no telling. I'm not going to get into government conspiracies, but there's no telling what could happen with a camera that's always on, that's able to see clear as day in the dark and in any lighting situations as they tout. They're dabbling with some pretty dangerous technology, in my opinion.
Well, everything has a camera now. Like your computer has a camera built in, your phone has multiple cameras built in, your iPad has a camera built in. There's always cameras watching you all the time, and most of them are connected to the internet and could be sending this signal somewhere if you want to believe into these theories. So it doesn't freak me out much. I know a lot of people who it would freak out, but these people are more prone to believing into the conspiracy theories. Anyway, I don't know. I'm totally not worried about it. No, it's a non-factor for me.
It's a kind of a creepy idea, but then when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, the last time I went to a public restroom, there was probably a camera watching me in the process. So great. So that ship has sailed at this point, my friend. There's someone watching you right now. Probably from that camera, and that camera, and that camera.
All right, Rick. Well, thank you so much for your question. While we get another caller on here, though. What about the idea, Austin? You brought up backwards compatibility, which is obviously another huge issue that PlayStation 4 got wrong. I think a lot of people were expecting Xbox to be slightly backwards compatible. Without maybe going into the issue of backwards compatibility, because that is just what it is and we've got to accept it. What does that do for the fact that they're announcing Xbox 360 titles later this year at E3? Like, what are they thinking if they're announcing, if the Xbox One is getting launched later this year, and I can't, like, it just seems so short-sighted in everything that's going on in terms of what they're doing and how they're releasing their games.
Yeah, sort of. I think there's a couple things we need to think about. And one is, I'm wondering if the industry, the console industry as a whole, is somewhat scared after they saw Nintendo and they saw the Wii U, and they say, oh, people aren't picking this up as fast as we want. And Nintendo already completely abandoned the Wii long before the Wii U even hit store shelves. So maybe we should keep supporting our older system to keep getting sales that way in case the Xbox One doesn't pick up in sales like we hope it does. And the other thing is, and you know, the PlayStation 3 is guilty of this also. If you keep making PS2 games, or in this case, if you keep making Xbox 360 games, it's going to make people want to go pick up a cheap Xbox 360 or PS2. And so when the Xbox One comes out, they could slash the Xbox 360 price to $100 or something like that, and that machine does a lot of stuff. And so it's arguably one of the best Netflix, Hulu,
It doesn't have a
HBO Go
Blu-ray player.
machines you can buy. It doesn't have a Blu-ray player, but it's pretty darn good for that price. Yeah, Sony really needs to do it. Like PS3, $150, $100, that thing would be fly off shelves. But they'll be able to continue to sell old hardware, and it gives them a little more buffer time leading into people adopting this new console.
Yeah, and I think the issue of backwards compatibility is something that's kind of overstated anyway, because right now we're worried about what games are coming out, like you were saying, Mike, what games are going to come out being announced at E3, what games are going to be coming out in the months leading up to the Xbox One releasing. I don't think anybody, like, how do I put this? Okay. Once the Xbox One actually releases, yeah, if somebody decided to make a 360 game and release that like a week before the One releases, let's hope that their target audience is people who are not going to purchase the Xbox One, because that's basically what they put themselves into at that point. Once the Xbox One is out, anybody who's looking at this right now and going, well, I won't be able to play this game anymore. I'm going to have all these games that I can't play anymore. You're probably not going to want to play those so much anymore. You're going to want to be playing the new Xbox One games because you just bought a brand new freaking console. You're not going to immediately use that to play Halo 2. You're just not. So
I don't know about you, but that's exactly what my game plan was.
Well, and still, like, I look at the original Xbox, the big black thing with the giant monster controller that hurts your hands to hold on to. There was one game that I ever purchased after getting my 360 that was an Xbox One game, not the new Xbox One. This is going to be stupid confusing from now on.
Yes, it will.
The original Xbox.
Not the Xbox One, but the one the Xbox One. No, the first one.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
Xbox.
Thanks for this, Microsoft. Way to go. But no, there's one game that I ever purchased that was on the original Xbox that I purchased after getting my 360. That was SSX Tricky, because it was an amazing freaking game. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
And it wasn't backwards compatible. It wouldn't play on the 360, so I had to haul out my old Xbox anyway just to even be able to play the thing. So I feel like backwards compatibility is an issue, but not as big of a one as people think. And there's certainly a lot of value in not trying to structure your brand new console in a way that allows it to then be backwards compatible. There's a lot of value in just saying, okay, no, we're going to start clean slate, 100% brand new. It's the difference between Windows 7 and Windows 98 is basically what that comes down to. Well, I guess 7 was kind of based on Vista, but even then, like, it's a different framework, right? It's something that they rebuilt from the ground up. There's a lot of value in something like that.
All right, let's take a pause here, and maybe we might end up back on the topic of backwards compatibility. I'm not really sure, but let's open up the lines and keep the calls coming in. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us what you think about the Xbox announcement.
Hey,
and
Mike,
tell us your question.
Josh,
no.
and Austin. It's Zista once again.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. No, I come in peace this time. I come in peace.
All right, great. No cheesecake battle this time, please.
Well, speaking of which, Austin, what's your opinion on cheesecake?
I hate cheesecake. I hate it.
Point.
Hate it.
Point Team Shaftnit. That's why I called him, not Blitz.
Well,
All right, Zista, what do you got?
I was just curious if you guys thought that the Xbox 360 was kind of pulling a 180 now in the terms of the direction that they're heading with the gimmick of their console and kind of being more like Nintendo than actually focusing on the gaming itself like Sony is.
Do we think,
It's
I mean,
kind of-
do we honestly perceive that Xbox isn't focusing on the gamer at all? I mean, yes, there's that like sizzle reel of TV, movies,
Oh, you
shows,
mean their actual
sports.
presentation? That wasn't a sizzle reel. That was just their presentation.
I mean, is that really, I mean, I don't want to say people are being short-sighted, but is that really how people are feeling about this whole entire thing? Is that they're just,
Yes.
like the Xbox is just focusing on TV? Do you guys honestly believe that?
Yes, that is exactly how people are feeling right now. When you come out with a presentation to announce your new gaming console and spend half a second talking about gaming and the rest of the time talking about TV and new TV shows and all sorts of this other random stuff that doesn't have anything to do with holding a controller and playing a game, people are going to get the impression that you don't care about game. When gaming takes up a fifth of your game console reveal, then yeah, people are going to get the impression that you don't care about games. Now, a lot of people have brought up and been talking about on Twitter, etc., like the E3 is where they said that they were going to talk about gaming and such. That's great and all, but it's still, I think, at best, a huge marketing mistake for Microsoft to announce their new game console and not spend the majority of the time talking about gaming. If they at all care about the gamer market here, I really feel like they should have been a little bit more forward with that.
I think it depends on if they are even aiming this at the gamer market, which I don't think they are. I think they're trying to make this everyone's center of their home entertainment experience. And that includes the gamer, hopefully, but they want the people who don't play games. They want the people who watch sports and want to look at their fantasy scores on their TV right next to the game. They want everybody in on this, which I think is why they marketed it how they did. And considering their past where they were a predominantly gaming platform, it does feel like a slap in the face to those of us that really just want to play games on it. But they're hoping to sell it to more than just the gamer, and of course, maybe get a couple of those gamers. But
that's what the Nintendo Wii did, and that revolutionized gaming for an entirely different generation. And I don't necessarily think that the fantasy sports team is ignorant of the gaming space, but I mean. No. Why not try and bridge the gap and make it a little bit more custom?
The Nintendo Wii didn't focus on playing TV and playing movies. The Nintendo Wii focused on games, just a very different type of games. Mm-hmm. The Xbox One announcement focused on TV and movies and sports. And there was a little bit of a smattering of something else gaming related in there for a second, but then they went right back to talking about TV and movies. In a way, it's more like what Sony did with the PS3 at first, and I will remind you that the PS3 actually had a fairly underwhelming launch for a while until it started to get some of those big top-tier games on its list. It was something that, sure, there were lots of hardcore people that were really, really into the PlayStation brand and everything, and it did well enough, but it was kind of underwhelming for a while until finally, like, those big, killer app games started to come out for the PS3. That was kind of the problem that Sony had. And the price drop, yes. That was also a very, very big step for them. It was something that I think the PS3 and Sony's approach, it's almost like Sony and Microsoft kind of flipped places in this particular step of the console war, where previously Xbox was all about the games and Sony was all about being your set-top box that does everything. Now it's Xbox is all about your set-top box that does everything. Where the video games. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now it's just they just kind of flip places. Now the Xbox is all about like it's the Xbox One, the sort of all-in-one thing, and I think that's something that at least people like us will look at and feel a little bit underwhelmed by, because like I don't watch TV. If I watch TV, it's on my computer, which is connected to a TV. Like that's how I watch TV. I don't need an Xbox to do that. So yeah, no, it is kind of funny how they've sort of flipped places like that.
Zista, how are you feeling about it all? I mean, did you kind of see what Josh and Laura saw? I'm not necessarily trying to say like I don't agree with you guys, especially in the way that they market it, but I just think that you guys like we have to understand, like I said, that these typically come out at E3, and that's around an entire time of game launches and game announcements, and yes, they should have added in a little bit. We saw PlayStation do it just fine, that they didn't run into this problem. But maybe I think people are jumping the gun that Microsoft is abandoning the gamer a little too soon. Wait 20 days, and if it's still there, if it's still this way.
Oh yeah. I think
like
there's
the
a very
first
real
5 minutes of
chance.
the presentation, I thought were amazing. Like I was like, oh, we get the whole thing with the TV. That's cool, but that was like their main focus on the entire presentation. And then the Kinect, which just feels really gimmicky to me, which is why I mentioned the Nintendo thing in the first place. And they didn't show much of any new ISPs. They mentioned that they had 8 coming out of the 15 or whatever, or 11 or whatever it was. And they showed us Quantum Break, and half of that was
What was
live
that?
action, like this girl and her mother. Like, what did that have to do with the whole video? Like, I don't understand. And then Halo TV show, and then they showed us games that are going to be cross-platform. Like, I was completely underwhelmed by the entire performance.
Forza's not going to be cross-platform. That was an exclusive, wasn't it?
No, I think Forza.
Yeah, that's made in-house.
And I think they said that Call of Duty was going to be on the Xbox first.
Yeah, they'll get like all
the
DLC
was
first.
going to be first, which has always been true to
yeah,
Microsoft.
that's been the deal they've had for a while.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something where I'm hoping that this is just a major marketing mistake on Microsoft's part to not talk about, not really say anything to the core gamers in this whole thing. But it is something to at least be worried about and, I guess, hopeful for at E3, that they're going to come out and be like, okay, here's all of the awesome new features that we didn't talk about in our presentation because we were too busy talking about TV instead. Maybe that'll happen. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, they need to bust out some exclusives. They need to get some deals done, sign some papers, make sure they have a reason for gamers to buy an Xbox, because all of the Twitterverse is saying PS4 or bust right now. Like, no one is on Xbox and Microsoft's side, it seems, which is a shame. But they have a long time, I think, to remedy it. So we'll see.
All right, Zista, here we go. Team PlayStation, Team Xbox. We might start a new war right here.
PlayStation, hands down.
See, I'm still undecided. I don't necessarily. I'm definitely leaning more towards PlayStation.
PlayStation's always been the home of Kingdom Hearts, Shaftnet. Do I need to say any more?
You got me here. Real quick conspiracy theory. I think that Square did not announce Final Fantasy 13 Versus at the PlayStation press conference because if they did it, it would be exclusive to the PlayStation. I personally think that if they're going to announce it at E3, we're going to hear that it's cross-compatible with both Xbox and PlayStation. That's as far as down that road I'm going. We might see the same with Kingdom Hearts, though, considering that that will be made after Versus. So we might that might be invalid. Zista, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we got to move on. We are just losing time. I looked at the clock and holy cow! But thank you so much for calling. We're gonna get another caller on and keep this show moving.
Take care.
Thanks. All right, let's throw to Twitter real quick while we get another caller on the line. Brendan Powers wanted to know, with all the extra server power Microsoft is boasting, do you think we will see more MMOs on the Xbox One? That's really interesting. I didn't even click in my head until I saw a couple Twitter questions like this. Josh, that's such a great notion that they have all they've gone to either hundreds of thousands or millions of servers.
Mm-hmm. They did spend a lot of time talking about having a lot more players in the games. Or I guess it wasn't a lot of time to talk about, but it was something that they brought up, where they were talking about having more players in the games now. I think in the sense of a hotbar act like a WoW style MMORPG, probably not something that we'll see on the Xbox, just because it's really difficult to translate that style of gameplay over where you don't have 80,000 keys in front of you. But the idea of an MMO, anything else, like something like PlanetSide would work great in that sort of thing. Yeah, Destiny, stuff like that, exactly. These are all things that would work fantastically in that sort of environment. I think there's a very real chance we're going to start seeing a lot more, at least much larger, like maybe hundreds of players on a given server or something like that, possibly branching out into full-on MMO style gameplay on the console, which would be great if that Xbox Live architecture is their killer app, then that's actually still kind of cool. That's something that now, this is something that we can actually get excited about as gamers, if that's the direction they end up going with it.
And I mean, I think you're even kind of talking maybe not your standard MMO. I think even words that they said during the conference was persistent worlds. So that's maybe something that we might see of seeing these games that kind of create these larger than life, ongoing kind of things that don't necessarily turn off when your Xbox does. Right, Austin?
Yeah, I think the console world has been trying to break into the MMO and free-to-play space for a while. Microsoft, I think last year, launched that Happy Wars game, which is a free-to-play kind of tower defense / MOBA / all sorts of weird genre mixing junk. And it's free-to-play, and it's fun, and I think they made a ton of money off of it. So it makes sense that they're making their consoles more PC-like to handle that type of game better. And I think it's something we're going to see at E3 for both Microsoft and Sony. We're going to see some MMOs, whether it be, I mean, I can't imagine they do a subscription MMO at this point, but I think they want some free-to-play, some of that great cash you get from what do they call it? The premium items, the shops, yeah. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think there's a pretty good shot of that happening, I think, at E3.
All right, next up, your guys' favorite segment of all time. That's right, we're prepping for some Eduardo's Corner, but this week, Eduardo's Corner is brought to you guys by Audible. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to audible.com/Gamebreaker, and you guys can sign up for a free trial as well as get a free audiobook. As Gary made aware to me on last week's episode of Legendary, they've actually got some World of Warcraft books. So if you guys haven't checked those out, I think they have the Malfurion book. I forget the exact title, but they've got I think 3 or 4 of the World of Warcraft books, which is a great deal. Go check it out. Maybe try it while you guys are driving to work. Don't take too long away from listening to Gamebreaker while you're driving to work, but it'd be a great time to go try that out. So check that out, audible.com/GamebreakerTV, or actually just /Gamebreaker. So it's that time. Eduardo, you're back on the line. Welcome back to the show.
Hey everyone, and welcome, Austin. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
You're gonna learn to facepalm at this part of the show every single time if you ever come back. So just get ready to roll your eyes.
But I think that we are not making questions this week because you said you wanted to have a debate.
Conversation.
I have a question, but I can save it for next week. I want to make Austin feel comfortable, at least for this week.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Well, so
I'm afraid. I'm very afraid.
Well, I didn't like the name because I think it failed to project the idea that they wanted to project. Like the Xbox One is the one thing that controls your living room, but it's actually like 3 things and 3 operative systems. Like it has the console, and then it's the Kinect, and then it's the controller,
and then smart glass as well, I believe.
Oh yeah, and then it's the smart glass and your smartphone. And one person in the chat made a comment about why don't they call it the Xbox? Oh wait, that's going to sound racist, but I think they were on their way, because you remember it was called Project Durango.
Yep.
I was hoping that they.
You were hoping it was going to be called the Mexbox. Where do you get?
Yeah.
Where why? Where? Okay, I get it. Nextbox, but where does the Mex even come into place without being blatantly racist? And this was Eduardo who said it. So internet, don't even come back on me about this.
Mike, you're such a racist.
Where does the Mex come from?
Oh well, here it's a common joke that in YouTube videos and animations, when we make parodies about the Xbox, we said that Mexico invented the Xbox.
Gotcha. So it's not even the Xbox. Is it an offshoot brand, or is it its own brand?
It's its own brand, and it's supposed to compete with the Xbox.
Ah.
Yeah, but it's always in parodies and cartoons and stuff. Yeah.
Well, Eduardo, what did you? I got nothing on that one. I won't even lie. I'm gonna try and pivot this. What did you think of the announcement? Did you get a chance to check it out?
Yeah, but I got really bored because I felt that it wasn't a console for me. One of my friends said it was the perfect fratboy console. Because the frat boys can have their sports games and their ESPN integration, and I didn't like the conference. It felt like a really bad infomercial, like those infomercials that are very long and they always repeat the same words.
TV.
Billy Mays here for the Xbox One.
And they have in their mind, they have their target audience defined as like frat boys in their 20s, and all the speech and all the features that they were showing were directed to that audience, which is probably the larger audience, but I think that most other types of gamers felt offended or left behind.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were touching on a little bit before. I'm still of the notion of waiting it out. I think you guys are. I think everyone is completely valid in feeling that way. I don't necessarily know if I'm ready to accept. I think it was just a poor marketing strategy, as not necessarily a poor or underperforming console.
Yeah.
Would you guys say the same thing?
At this point, it pretty much it's just going to come down to the games, is all it is. If whichever console has the better games, that's the one that I'll end up playing. It doesn't matter if I can do live streaming from the PlayStation 4. It doesn't matter if I can tell my Xbox to go home. Doesn't matter. It just really depends on what games I'm going to be able to play. So that's going to be the major deciding factor for me on which one I pick up first. I'll probably end up picking up both of them at some point, but whichever one I pick up first is going to be who's got the games I want to play.
Yeah. Austin, you feel the same thing?
Absolutely, and I think someone needs to talk about price and how much these things are going to cost.
You know, both PlayStation and Microsoft are playing a game of poker, waiting to see who comes out with their cards first.
It's more like chicken.
Exactly. No one wants to be first for that.
Do you guys think with the we have a little bit of a betting pool going on at work? I don't think we're going to see a price point for this new Xbox under $500 because of the Kinect integration, and they're forcing it on people. And they're not going to tell you that they're going to bump up the price because of that, but I guarantee you that they are. I'm guessing no cheaper. I'll go a little bit lower. Actually, I'll revise my statement at work. I'll see if I can get some of my money back. But I think like $450, $499, I think is the minimum we're going to see at launch.
Or maybe they will offer a plan, like a yearly subscription to Xbox Live with the console. I think that they do that with the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
I think they may offer both things.
Yeah, like $600 out of pocket without a contract, and then if you sign a 2-year deal for Xbox Live or something else, some way to get your money, and then you can get it for $300 or something like that.
Cell phone providers have been doing that for ages. This thing would have cost me $600, but because I got a 2-year contract, I got it for like $300 instead, $200, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think both of them.
Yeah, if they have a subscription, we're assuming they still have a subscription on Xbox Live because I don't think they said anything about it. So
no, I don't think they did either.
Yeah. And if there's a subscription for anything for the PS4 for like all their cloud-based stuff too, then it would not be hard for them to come out and say, okay, well, you can have this for $300, but you've got to sign a 2-year agreement to stay with Xbox Live for the whole time. I could see that something like that happening easily.
Absolutely.
All right, Eduardo, we got to move on. We got a couple questions we're going to try and sneak in here right at the end of the show, but thank you so much for calling. We always appreciate it, and I look forward to your wild and wacky, crazy question next week.
Okay, see you guys.
Thanks so much, man. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, while we get another caller on the line, we'll throw it over to Twitter. Solarian had the question, GB After Dark, any good browser-based game recommendations? Well, Solarian, if you haven't heard, just wanted to inform you of this awesome new site called Free to Play TV. You might have heard about it. It's this awesome website that hooks you up with all the free to play games you could ever imagine, and it's just kind of your one-stop shop for everything free to play news. You know, you can find out about free to play video games and go sign up. And would you believe it's by your very family over here at Gamebreaker TV? That's right, we got a new website. Free to play TV. If you guys haven't checked it out, it just went live, I think today. So be sure to go check that out. A lot of work has been going into it. There's so much to check out over here. And you guys should definitely go check out that website. So, there you go. 2 ads in one setting. Free to play TV, audible.com. We do not have another caller on the line. Unfortunately, I jumped the gun on that. So, in the meantime, let's throw it out to another Twitter question. Let's see here. J Prime 1 wants to know, why would Microsoft go in a totally different direction than game? Oh, wait, we've talked about this a lot. So let's go to the next question. Andrew Freeman wants to know, is it odd that the Halo announcement at Xbox One today was television series, not a game? All right, I get it. They were focusing a lot on TV. I'm wrong. They clearly did bad with their marketing department. But we will answer that one. Guys, what do you think about the Halo announcement? I think, first off, Steven Spielberg, come on, that's exciting. Halo television series, come on. I mean, like,
sure.
Let's not let the weight of the Xbox One announcement kind of bring down the idea that this could be really cool. We were all really excited for a Peter Jackson movie. Steven Spielberg television series, bring it on.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the hell out of that on this.
on the Xbox's competing platform.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it on not an Xbox.
They need something to say for E3. They blew their Call of Duty announcement today. So E3 needs to open up with something so they could do a Halo, I guess it'd be Halo 5, coming next year. Because it seems like...
Is Halo 5 really like... Is Halo 5 like their chamber, or their bullet in the chamber? Like, that's not... I think
it has to be.
Like, come on. They've
Remember
got...
how big of a deal Halo...
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Well, I agree. I'm not a big Halo guy or anything. I'm not a big Call of Duty guy either, but they love that. Halo 3 was a huge deal for when the 360 launched. It came out a year after, I think the following September, and they promoted the hell out of that. So they have to work on Halo. Halo's pretty much all they have. Gears of War is kind of like done at this point. They showed Forza already. They showed their Call of Duty DLC exclusivity.
But they did say didn't they say that there were going to be like 16 exclusive titles that they were going to announce at E3?
Yeah, but how many of those are going to be downloadable? That's what always happens. Everyone says, "Oh, we have 30 exclusive titles," and then they're all, $10 games. They're going to show Geometry Wars 3. And as great as that sounds, it's not going to be as big of a deal as something like a Halo 5 would be.
Yeah, for sure. I think Halo 5 might be their biggest, mass appeal thing to come out with, if that makes sense. It's a series that does resonate with the core gamer a bit. There's a lot of people who are really into the Halo story and everything, and obviously lots of people into Halo multiplayer. It hits the frat boy audience a little bit. It hits the core gamer audience a little bit as well. But I'm so tired of Halo. I just
Yeah.
want, like, I love the Halo storyline. Like that whole the whole storyline is awesome to me. I've always enjoyed that. But if Halo 5 is the best they can come up with, I'm going to be looking at it and going, where are the video games? Where are the video games?
Where the video games? Where my video? I can't breathe.
Remember to breathe, Josh. Remember to breathe. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. All right. I know you guys are absolutely sick. The world, Twitter, Facebook, everything has been blowing up with Xbox. So we will end tonight's show not about Xbox. We'll open up the lines and take one more call, which I know for a fact is not about Xbox. Y'all can relax. Y'all can breathe. We got it out of my system. I mean, our system. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question. That's not about Xbox.
Hey, Mike. It's Rich from Breckenridge.
Hey, how's it going? I'm starting to
All right,
remember
how are you
people's
guys?
names and where they're from. I'm getting excited. I think we've had
This
all
is
repeat
good.
callers tonight.
That's usually something that happens well before the 13th time you've talked to somebody. though.
33rd. Oh, I guess I don't know if he's called every episode, but fair enough, sir.
I've called about 6 times.
Yeah, okay. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. As for, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and say I'm not for either of those platforms. I am Team PC. So,
Dang!
PC Master Race.
Laid down the law right there.
all right. So the question would be, there was a Q&A with Jeremy Gaffney in the past week and change, where basically he threw it out to the community. Did they want to see flying mounts in the game or not? And I am on the not side. I wouldn't mind
Talking about
like a
WildStar
zone-
here, correct?
Yeah.
Just to-
Yeah, WildStar. Yeah, WildStar. I figure everybody's heard Jeremy Gaffney's name enough now. But
Right. I just wanted to make sure we clarified for anybody who didn't recognize the name.
okay. I wouldn't mind like if they had zones, like specific zones, like a space zone where you could fly around and there were specific mounts, vehicles, ships that you could, tool around in that and have fun with that. But as for the world on the whole, I would not want to see flying mounts. What's your thoughts?
I think flying mounts have the tendency to end up making the world feel small after a while, is the thing. Like you have all this stuff going on around, and sure, it's frustrating sometimes later on. Like right now in Pandaria while you're leveling or whatever, there's no flying mounts while you're leveling. And so people get frustrated because some stupid horse or whatever walks up and knocks you off of your horse, and you're like, what the F, horse? And the horse starts kicking in your face, and you're like, oh, what did I do to you, horse? And you get really mad about that for a while. I think that's a product of that outdated and frankly stupid mechanic. I think if they
Stop
set
adding
up the game,
days. Sorry, go ahead.
What?
I said stop.
Oh, days.
Stop adding days.
Days.
Take days
Sorry.
out of the. Yeah. Take days
Yeah.
out of the thing.
For whatever reason, I heard that as days, as in like days of the week, and I was like, just really, really confused. Anyway, no, I think I think if we didn't have stuff like that, then not having the ground mounts or not having the flying mounts wouldn't be so frustrating. Getting around the world would feel better. It also makes things like flight paths a lot more useful. Like even in SWTOR, one thing that I honestly did not mind about SWTOR was the fact that, yeah, sure, all of your mounts, or at least when I play, I don't know if they ended up adding flying mounts at some point or not, but at least while I was playing, all of your mounts were ground mounts, and if you wanted to get from one place to another in a hurry, you could take a flight path, and you would just go on that for a little while. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that style of gameplay. I think it makes the world feel a lot more involved, a lot more vibrant, a lot more like it's actually a breathing place. I like it. Yeah, honestly, if they want to, it does come down to how they want to design the game as a whole. If they have a great idea for how to make flying mounts work, then go with that. But I don't have a problem with the idea of no flying mounts either. If it's something where they just say, you know what, we're just going to not have them, and we're going to design our game in a way that it's not frustrating to not have them. Awesome. Go for it.
Yeah, and I think flying mounts really take away from the people feeling like the world is living and breathing, because then you take away, you're no longer dealing with A to B or A to C. You're dealing with all this Z space and X and Y. You're dealing with 3D, and then you really take the people away from each other because the chances of you running into someone while you're running, parallel with someone is potential. But as soon as you add in, all of the sky and everything else, you really start to, in my opinion, take the life out of the RPG, and it feels less full. I think what World of Warcraft has done, I really do I like Blizzard's stance where they still haven't allowed flying mounts in Pandaria until you're max level. You need to go through on ground to enjoy what they did in the development time. Now, I'm sure there are alts out there that maybe will say, well, I've already gone through it. Just let me fly around it. I don't care anymore. But I think there needs to be a certain foot on the ground scenario. The problem that WoW has is that they've integrated it. And now in my opinion, they can never go back. They can't take away flying mounts for good. Otherwise, they're going to cause drastic problems, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and there's extra tools that it gives them from a development side of things as well, just in terms of setting up how a zone is going to flow. If we know that you are never going to have a flying mount in this area, even on an alt, we always know that you will come across this before you get to this, etc. You will have passed through this area before you get to this area. And I think stuff like that helps them a lot in terms of zone design, quest flow, etc. It's very, and that's something that WildStar is really, really serious about too, is getting the aesthetics of everything absolutely perfect, getting the quests absolutely perfect, getting the zones absolutely perfect. It's all looked great so far. Honestly, at this point, from all that I've seen from WildStar so far, haven't had a chance to play it yet. Really excited to get my hands on it when I can. And I have a lot of faith in that development team right now. Whichever way they end up going with it, I'm fairly confident that they'll make it work.
Yeah, it's definitely looking to be a good game. I know I'm excited about it. Now, Rich, obviously, I'm just going to throw this back to you real quick. I know this is your question. Where do you stand on it? Where are you at with flying mounts? Are you okay with what they're doing, or do you want to see them?
In a specific zone, for example, they showcased a zone that was kind of a space zone. If they made another one where the questing involved using your spaceship, stellar mount, whatever you want to call it, to do questing in that zone by design, giving you a different layer of play, which is kind of their thing. They're going with having a lot more layers, types of play, different variety, spice of life, that kind of thing. That would be good. But just flying around the world, I know from WoW, on the Isle of Thunder, no flight. And it feels like there are people there. It feels like I can interact. Events happen, rares spawn, people flock and drop on it, and you can see them moving towards it like a mob. It feels active and vibrant. Versus Pandaria, it's like, oh look, there's nobody near me. And then one guy kind of descends from on high, bump, on the ground. It's dead. And he takes off and goes, and I don't see anyone else again for 30, 40 minutes. That's my problem. So I'm a big fat no.
I think we're all in agreement on that. I think that flying mounts are definitely something cause problems. I think they serve a purpose, but I think at least in my opinion, I agree with you. I think we've seen some negative repercussions that have affected the MMO world. That's it for us, though. Thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate your call, and we'll get to you next week, or call us back next week. I mean,
you bet.
Thanks so much, man. All right, Austin Reginball, you can follow him right down there on Twitter at Austin Reg. Bringing him back.
Tell me what you think about. Tell me what you think about the Xbox. Are you going to buy it? Because I don't think anyone on Twitter is going to buy it right now, and I need to know that Microsoft's going to be okay. Steve Ballmer's trying to bring my Seattle Supersonics back, so I need him to have money and do that.
Just so that one person out there says that they'll buy it, I'll probably buy it. I'm not. I'm holding my reserve a little bit because I want to see where the cross compatibility lies between the PlayStation and the Xbox. Most likely, I'm gonna end up with both because that's just the way that I always do. Whatever I get first will depend on the game. That's my 2 cents there. But guys, be sure to go follow us at Austin Reg, or at Austin Reg. A good friend of mine back from the dashboard days. Thank you so much for your expertise on the Xbox this week. We had so much information. I knew it'd be great to have you on the show, so thank you for joining us. Josh Allen, you can follow him right down there at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Maybe at Curly. I don't know. Let's get that Twitter. No, just Devolore.
No.
Can Curly be
Shaftnit.
your Blizzard? No.
Shaftnit, go home.
Go home. You're drunk. And you can follow me right here. You can follow me right here at Mike Shaftnit, guys. Please be sure to check out Gamebreaker TV. Also follow us at Gamebreaker TV. We just launched a brand new site, free-to-play TV, so be sure to go check that out if you guys are into free-to-play games. And again, this is Gamebreaker After Dark, the show where you guys call in live, make the show happen on a weekly basis, so please be sure to tune in Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m. PDT. That about does it for us. Thank you so much for watching. And real quick, Microsoft, I got one question for you.
Where the video games? Where my video? I can't breathe.
Shaftnit, splash screen.